for October 23rd, 17 of the planning board. General business minutes from 9:25.
Make motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Filings,
Forest Edge off Blackstone Street, otherwise known as Aerial Circle. That's the condominium project, 2 phases. First phase is a bunch of fourplexes. Second phase, he's coming in to split those fourplexes into duplexes. So same number of buildings, just split them in half. The second part of that hearing will be the discussion about pulling 1.18 acres out of the Grafton open space to use for telecommunications. So it's a 2-part hearing. There's actually 2 applications, but we'll hear them in the same hearing. We've made sure we've notified every single condominium owner, as well as all the legal abutters, including quite a good list in the town of Grafton.
so have the issues with phase 1 been all cleared up?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Phase 1, the last 2 buildings, one's framed. It'll be occupied by February, and the second one closes, I believe, this month, actually, in November. Closes in November. So, so you can go see the little new duplexes up there, and that's what will be through phase 2, those duplexes. Pleasant Valley Crossing Phase 3, the much-awaited Phase 3. We're hopping over Phase 2 for now. Phase 3 is going to be on the soccer field. That is 2 buildings, an 18,500 square foot multi-tenant building. We'll have food use on one end, medical use on the other end, and some retail in between. And then you've got a standalone 200-seat restaurant is the other structure, so those 2 structures. So, and then there'll be, you might have noticed they already took down a section of fence.
Yep.
Because they'll be pulling that phase right into the rest of the project. I told them right up front that they need to file a traffic study to make sure that increased traffic doesn't screw up the 2 entrances on 146 and Boston Road, so that has already been submitted as well as all the other required materials. So, and it's all gone to Gray's Engineering for peer review already as well.
Any names for the restaurant?
No. Originally, it was supposed to be a non-chain restaurant, rumored to be the second location of one of the Worcester restaurants, which there's so many. And now they're back and forth whether it's going to be that one or somebody else. I get the feeling that the somebody else is a chain restaurant, but I don't know. In any case, not a Wendy's and not a McDonald's. Okay. Lots of rumors out there.
As of right now.
It's a 200-seat restaurant. That's not a Wendy's or a McDonald's.
So when I get off Boston Road and drive in,
You're gonna-
where is it?
Right on your right-hand side. So you'll.
On your right-hand side?
Right on your, yep.
Oh, it's going to be
Where both the soccer
field.
fields are.
So
Yep.
everything
They
that
bought the
we're,
soccer field.
and everything we're talking about is on the right-hand side?
Right-hand side. Mhm.
Oh.
So you pull in, bang a right.
Before you get into the actual,
So that's phase 3.
Will there be access to that through
what's that
Pleasant
road?
Valley Road?
No,
Okay.
Pleasant Valley?
Okay.
okay, so those, we're just legally acknowledging those filings.
Acknowledge them.
So acknowledged.
The beat goes on.
Form A's, none, right?
None.
61A release for 169 8 Lots Road.
Most of you are familiar with Chapter 61A releases. You have a bona fide offer for land at 169 8 Lots Road. I assume this is directly adjacent to John, so he's
I
out of
recuse
this
myself.
discussion.
It isn't. It's the second lot.
Oh, this one's over more?
It's gotta be within 300 feet though.
Yeah.
That's the one that we got.
You got the same one we got, so if you say it's 2 over, it's 2 over. So,
Where is, before you leave?
5.60 acres are shown as Lot 4. Yep, so Lot 4.
Lot 4?
Yeah,
It
so
says-
he's given you a plan.
Says 3 on this one, John, you can show me,
That's an old plan.
and a 44 and a 46.
So lot 5 is directly adjacent to the Andersons. Lot 4 is the next one over, as Nick indicated. He's still within 300 feet, so he's technically a legal abutter, so it's just a good move. All right, so it's just a lot, it's just one single lot. It does not appear on the town's, open space priority list.
It's frontage to 8 Lots Road, right?
Yep, frontage to 8 Lots Road. As you know, the land in the back went to Fisheries and Wildlife. Worcester Land Trust helped that whole thing. It popped to them, then it popped to Fisheries and Wildlife. The retreat lot here was sold off by Worcester Land Trust to make the whole deal work. And the remaining land, this frontage land either side of the retreat lot, was retained by Cronin. And so now Cronin is selling these building lots. These 5
Same thing,
building lots, 2 on one side,
So
3 on
these
the
two?
other side. So this is
This,
the
I think
first
this was sold.
of
Right, so we're
5
talking
that will
about
be sold.
this one, the second one.
Comments from the board?
Can you
just
come up, Nick,
studying
and
the
point to which one it is on this map? The numbers are wrong.
Here,
When you say second one in, I don't know what.
that's, here, let me give you the better map.
There's a better one?
Yep, there's a better
Keep going.
map. There is a better map. No, this is Forest Edge.
Yeah, not there.
There's the-
Oh,
this
at
one.
the back of
At the
it.
back of this. Here you go.
Ah,
This is John's house.
Okay,
John's house. So it's this lot. So you can see, this went to the state.
Yeah, got it.
This was sold by Worcester Land Trust to an individual party, and Cronin owns this, 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 and this.
Okay.
So this is the first you'll see.
the second one, okay. Got it.
Wayne? Back, go to
It
the
looks
back one.
different.
And what lot
This is this
is it
one.
we're talking about?
This is John's
Yeah,
house.
Second one,
Yeah.
John's
Second one.
house.
So it's- yeah.
Okay, so there's still one in between. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So what you need to do is motion to recommend the town pass over its first right of refusal, or a motion to recommend that the town meet the bona fide offer price and purchase the land. And that's just a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. They ultimately.
So comments from the board?
I just want to read through really quickly.
How about from the audience?
It's a total of 165, by the way. It's the bona fide offer price.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I don't see any real need for the town to be buying that property.
Bob?
A second. I'll second the motion to pass on the
Pass
auction.
over.
So I can't think of, I can't.
Did I
think of-
make that
I
motion?
don't know if you seconded it.
Sure,
Yeah, all right.
I'll make that motion.
I can't imagine.
Okay. So all in favor of passing over and letting it be sold?
Aye.
So 301.
Okay, John, you're joining the board? Hey,
It's not too bad. We can go on to our public hearing.
no, Villa's bond extension first. In the blue file folder, you have 2 bond extensions for the Villas of Pleasant Valley. The Phase 2 cash bond, you have 2 bonds on Phase 2. A cash bond, which is about, it was voted at 29 and change, with interest is up to 31 and change, and you have a lender's agreement. And then on Phase 3, you just have a lender's agreement. We need to extend the cash bond, and I recommend that we extend it to match the rest of the Phase 2 bond, which is April 1st, 2018. And then the Phase 3 lender's bond, they're just beginning Phase 3. It's going great guns. There's already 15 under agreements out of 40 some or so units, but they still probably need a year. So my recommendation is that the Phase 2 cash bond goes to April 1st, 2018, and the Phase 3 lender's agreement goes to October 1st of 2018. And I say October 1st, even though we're closer to November, because that was the original date. I just pushed them to this meeting because we had other stuff to tackle last meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Discussion? Nick?
Is there going to be an as-built plan showing the location of all the buildings and the roads in there?
Mm-hmm.
May we have a copy of that so we can
Sure.
adjust our assessing map to show that?
Right, yep. It is a bonded item, the as-built plan.
Questions or comments from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty.
4-0.
Okay, and then you guys just need to sign that. Okay, and then if somebody has the hearing notice.
Bob, do you have the hearing notice
I think we got it right here.
I have a teeny tiny one. Good night, Monica. Oh, here's the big one.
Okay, in accordance with the provisions of zoning bylaw, Section 4C, site plan review, and Section 7A2, special permits, the planning board will hold a hearing on the applications of Bruce Spinney of Mendon, Mass., of Blackstone Valley Events Rentals for use of 121 Worcester Providence Turnpike, formerly Worms Way, as a party rental store. The hearing will be held at the Sutton Town Hall, 3rd floor, on Monday, October 23rd, at 7:10 PM.
Okay, these are the site plans. Do you wanna spread them out? Jump on in, Bruce.
So what's been going on?
So we're moving forward with the acquisition of the property. We got the determination last time we were here. So we need to provide some documentation of what any changes that we would be making to the existing parcel. The only thing that we really need is, there's 4 Conex boxes at the end of the building that we'll need to use for temporary storage to bridge the gap between moving in next season, and then hopefully at the end of next season, we can come back and actually put a permanent structure in place there. Unfortunately, the way my season works is it's pretty much April to September. We go like crazy, and then if it's nice like in October now, we go like crazy there too. So we only really get about 4 or 5 months to do anything building-wise. So we have, I own 4 red containers that are over at the other store now. We were just asked to put them on the end of the building where they're illustrated there, and then bridge the gap for the year. And then we'd like to come back in the fall of next year with a set of plans to perhaps extend that building on the end so we can actually have enough warehouse space to keep everything indoors. So we have enough space in the building as it is now. It's going to be really crowded to navigate the big stacks of chairs and stuff like that. So this eases our, because we can put a ton of chairs in a Connex box.
Is the Connex box a trailer without wheels on it? Or is it a-
It's like what you put on an 18-wheeler, or like a shipping container.
Oh,
So
shipping
it's 8 by
container.
8 by 40.
Is it on wheels or it goes right on the ground?
Well, we won't put it on the ground. It tends to sink into the pavement, so we usually put it on 4x4s.
Okay.
So it's about 4 inches off the ground.
No wheels.
No wheels,
Yeah, okay.
no. You have to take them in and out. I did the measurements on the site, and then I talked with Highway out of Upton, who's going to move the boxes for me to make sure we have enough room to get everything in there. So they basically open at one end, we fill with our chairs and our tables, which are like the really bulk item that you can't shelve properly indoors, and have people kind of load and offload them safely.
So one of my questions, as I looked at the plan before the meeting, was you're looking for a year for those container boxes.
Yes.
Second, you mentioned they're red in color. So any chance of getting them painted to kind of blend in with the building as opposed to stick out?
Sure. We can, we certainly, they're not, they're a dull red now. They wouldn't be a distraction, I don't think. But I'd love to paint them and make them a little bit more presentable. I mean, we see a lot of traffic on that street, so we like to doctor them up a little bit too. That's gonna be easier when they're there, as opposed to where they are now, because we can bring them in one at a time over here, because we got a little time to play with, and then we can spray paint them, which would be ideal. So yeah, I'd certainly wanted to do that anyways.
I like red, but.
You're colorblind.
When the red's a color I can see.
They're a little dull. It's got that powdery coating to the red because they haven't been painted in years and years, so we were gonna do it anyways. I was thinking just gray.
There's also a chance, get ready. Find some local artists, do some cool art on it.
Uh-oh.
Don't pay them, just buy the paint.
I would love to do that too.
That makes people stop.
You see
That
one
makes
of them
people
on the
see.
ends.
Yeah, that's
Visibility.
that's the possibility of something that would make people turn.
So I did have Eagle, I leased a few from them, and they were like a steel gray. They kind of go with everything. The brown that's part of the building, I don't know if I could match the color, and I think they look ugly if there was that same, it's like a beige color, the building.
The neighborhood that I'm in Worcester, we had great luck with murals and outdoor, and
Certainly we catch.
you get the artist. I mean, I just suggest you you come up with a concept. Of course, you want to say yes, but they get exposure. You buy the paint, and that's how it works. And people come in and say, "Who the hell did that? How do I hire them?"
The only
That's where the paycheck is.
downside is I need to get rid of them in a year.
Yeah. So it's a temporary, but
Yeah.
it's whatever. It's
We certainly will make them
Support the local
striped or,
artists. Don't let the taggers get there, because it is no matter what color you paint it, there are people who like doing art without permission.
One thing we-
Taggers, is that what you said?
One thing we will have on site is, as an extension to the alarm system that's currently in, all our CCTV stuff, we're gonna move from the other stores over.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to monitor the parking lot a little bit. I did notice that there was some stuff that was left when I was in and out of there. Where the dumpster used to be, there was a bunch of trash in there, and, somebody left half a couch.
Great.
It's an unusual name, because he's quite an unusual guy. He works for the city of Worcester, and he coordinates all the mural stuff. So he's the one that knows of those. His first name is Che, C-H-E. His last name is Anderson. You can remember.
Jay Anderson?
Yeah, if you call City Hall,
Okay.
ask, he's a texter. He's young, but
If you don't mind, I'll take out my phone.
that's just good. That's someone who's brings people from all over the world into Worcester for us. And there's always people that didn't get to do something.
Yeah, that was during the WOW Festival, right? How many did you get? 18 murals?
Yeah.
Something like that, or at least a dozen?
Yeah, oh yeah, they came back again.
That was just neat.
And the Railers' new building that they put up in Worcester had a whole bunch of surfaces. They asked, and again, that guy said, "Yeah, can I have something to say about it? Can I see it before I put it up? I want to just say it. I like it." He gave them a concept, and they came from Canada and did just a backside that no one would have thought of. They were just thrilled to get exposure.
Cool.
I'll certainly
and
look
I
into it.
stopped to cheer them on, and that's
Especially if it's a
how
matter of just buying the paint.
it's how it works, and that's how then people notice that and stop in and say,
Okay.
So you support the local art community.
Okay.
We could be up and down to Blackstone, up and down 146.
146 is an up-and-coming
Yeah.
neighborhood, as you guys know.
Great.
Thanks.
So Bruce, did you get the comments from the different departments?
I did. I got some from the fire department, I believe, and then there was one other.
You got mine, you got the police department, and you got the fire department. So those were the three. The police department had no comments. And mine was just the technical procedure and my recommendation that, I think on mine had the recommendation. Sorry, let me see. Temporary storage units must be in excellent condition, and the board needs to vote an absolute date of removal. So those are my two recommendations. And when we were looking at the site plan, there are 5, I think, shown on this one.
there are.
There are 5 shown on the site plan. And one thought was,
Oh, I'm sorry, there should be only,
yeah.
there's
so-
only 4. This is going to be reduced by 1.
All right, so one thought was, you want these as invisible as possible. And like you've already said to the board, you don't have a lot of foot traffic, so this is good, ample parking. So the thought was, is it possible to pop them actually here
Okay, so we
and then just one there? So all of these would be tucked back.
We originally wanted to bring over all of them, and then we decided to return the 3 because this area here is actually where the septic is. So the distribution box to the septic is right here. And
okay.
the tanks are over here. Unfortunately, when we were doing this, we didn't have the Title V filed. They've done the work now. So we didn't want to mess with that area.
Okay, I got you.
And the reason why we started over here is because I kept my turning radius to come around that corner with the 16-foot box trucks, which there's ample there, but ample plus 8 feet is perfect for, seasonal help.
And that's where,
That was
that's where you want the
nice
art to be. Yeah.
I like the way you worded it.
So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
And lose this.
Yep. And I'd actually give myself a little bit of gap between these instead of having to cram them in, just so we could go in between them and clean out leaves and stuff like that always collect between these things.
All right. Okay, so this is, septic is under here.
Well, probably a good idea, he doesn't put it on top of that, too.
Whatever.
Just,
It's a good reason not to.
So the fire department, update keys, contact information in the Knox box.
Right.
FA system tested and working per code. Obtain any necessary applicable permits for flammable and combustible gas liquid storage.
So we don't actually keep anything really combustible there. We're out of the tool business now, so we won't even keep small engine fuel. All of my cleaning and everything is done at the linen store, which is in Grafton, which is on public water and sewer. So we'll do most of the things that we would clean there would be that type of thing, and so there's a Windex on chairs and things of that nature. But we will certainly file everything with the MSDS sheets as well on site. And the inspection is all part of the PNS, so it's all on the seller to make sure that everything's in working order. And they currently have a property management group that as soon as we get under contract and get in there, they'll turn over all of the fire alarm codes and the keys and everything to us. Everything is up and running, so Wormsway they haven't been operating there for years, but the phone system's still up, the alarm system's still up, the water is still on. Everything has been maintained like they have been in there. And that's in accordance with their lease, so.
Okay. Comments from the board? From the public? Jan?
The only thing, any new signage has to be submitted to the planning office so we can review it prior to fabrication. So that should be a condition.
And we'll want to stay within the existing. You see that it's smashed out now, the light bulbs from inside. We'll probably want to go to a sign company and just get something for that, so we'll file as soon as we actually get in the building. We have about 3 months before we start our season. I want to advertise right away, of course, but I want this sale to happen. It's just baby steps. I didn't want to bite off too much in the beginning.
Look forward to having you in
Well, it's
town.
going to be great for us.
Yeah, no, it's good for us, so make no mistake. Don't like seeing vacant buildings.
No.
And hard to find people that can move in and afford to stay there. It sounds like you're the one.
So in order to vote this for a special permit, we need to determine the findings, why we believe that can allow you to go in and conduct business in that zone
As a retail use.
as retail, right? The board talked a little bit to you about that previously, but it wasn't at a public hearing,
Okay.
okay? So,
You want me to reiterate kind of what I had gone through, just so it's on record type of thing?
yeah, if,
Well, actually, I would just run through the 5 criteria, and you can just touch base on how you
Okay.
think you meet the 5
Sure.
criteria. So,
So the appropriateness of the specific site as a location for the use is the first one. Number 2, the adequacy of public sewage water system. 3, the effect of the developed use upon the neighborhood. 4, whether there will be undue nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles, pedestrians on that site. And 5, whether adequate or appropriate facilities will be provided to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use, structure, or condition.
Okay. Do you mind if I just use
Nope.
this as like a cheat sheet?
Sure.
There you go. There's the 5. Okay. That first one usually has to do with zoning and what else is in the area.
We got the determination last meeting that we're a retail establishment, which is what was in there previously. We'll see far less traffic in and out of it than an actual retail store would that has a bunch of stuff on the shelves. It's on its own private septic and water, which is more than adequate to meet my needs to run the bathrooms and any other water we're going to need. It's a fairly robust system. What they had put in there originally was, this is Donuts, I forget the name. I had left for the service when that went in, and I think by the time I got home from the service, it was gone. So, but it's a fairly robust system, more than adequate for our water needs, which is minimal at best. We are developed, I think the neighborhood it's a highway business basically, so we're keeping with, I think, what the town wants in that corridor. We can further, when we go to take out the Connex boxes and make it a little bit more attractive with an actual building, we can do that over the next year. Let's see, on to nuisance. I don't believe we'll have any more traffic than what was currently in there. I've been to Wormsway a few times when it was in business. It was never a very populated place. We're going to keep the grounds maintained like they are now. We'll keep the building up as much as as it is to its current condition. Adequate use of facilities ensure proper operation. This is going to be my only facility, so we'll be handling all of our business here. So it will be my employees, my trucks, and then my operations and organizational.
Now, you said the cleaning's gonna be done in Grafton, though, is that,
All the aggressive cleaning, the tent washing and things of that nature, it really requires public utilities. I wish this was on sewer, but it's not. And
so you said this will be your only location, so where are you washing it in Grafton?
it's 296 Providence Street. It's where Charter is, or used to be anyways, on 122.
So is that yours too?
That's mine as
So
well.
this will be your only location in Sutton, and then you'll keep the one back for washing
Right.
and stuff?
That's actually my linen shop. So we do our own linen. It's Elegant Linens. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. So I purchased that at the beginning of the year. There's not any room there. It's a nice big building, but it's got about 6 parking spots. So we can do that type of thing there. We just can't have people coming in and out. It's just way too much. But it's on public water and public utility. So it has all my linen cleaning systems. So putting my tent washing machine in there is just, it fits. Everything's plumbed properly, and
Okay.
this will be,
That last one also speaks to the, having the Connex boxes and what you're gonna do with that over time.
and I would like just to give me the year till next December. And then when we get in and I moved in and kind of get situated, then I'll probably have a good couple months before the season kicks off again that I can, I use Waterman Design out of Westboro to handle most of these things, so they can come in and take a look and see what type of warehouse we can build on the end of it. It's out of the 100-foot buffer, and there's a good amount of pavement there. So we can probably build enough of a warehouse that we wouldn't need any Connex boxes. They're not very attractive anyways, and with 60,000 cars a day, I think our goal is going to be to make it as really clean and nice looking as possible. So, which would make me competitive with or maybe more competitive than most of my competition out there in the rental world, which is content to be downtrodden.
Comments? From the audience? I do think, from our discussion before, it's a good fit for the building.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know who else they.
So, a year from today would be, for all intents and purposes, November 1. You mentioned December. Sale hasn't been finalized yet. When do you expect that to
No,
happen?
we needed this to complete the transaction, so to speak. So I'm financing a good chunk of this, and the bank is not willing to do that without a permit in place. So we're looking to go somewhere between December 1st and the 14th, but we're also selling the other building, which just got bumped back today. So it's going to be in that window. The only reason why December 31st would be good for me is if we do indeed kind of get out of our season October 31, because we still are going now because the weather's been incredible. So we're still very, very busy. That gives, if we do get a plan in place and get something to be built, breaking ground will probably come around December, I'm guessing. Maybe some site work, and it gives me a little bit of flexibility at the end, because I wouldn't be able to move with a new building or to move those things till the season's all the way done.
So what I hear is you're asking for December 31, 18, right? To have the boxes out.
And I'm looking to get rid of them as quickly as possible, so it's just not, it can't happen during my season, so to speak.
Okay, so does somebody want to take a shot at making a motion for?
We have two things, granting the special permit for the retail use and then site plan approval. Those are your two things you need to add. You can do them as one motion, you can do them as two.
We'll do them as two, so we're clear. I'll make a motion that we grant a special permit for a retail operation at, what number?
121.
Well, the address on that's
121.
wrong, so let me see.
121.
121 is the correct address.
121 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
I'll second that.
Okay. So, Bob, with that, we're going to have standard conditions of all,
Right, approval of all other boards in town.
and do you want to incorporate that, the containers be removed by the 31st into this one, or do you want to make that a separate motion?
I was gonna put it on the other,
Okay.
or should we put it on both? I mean,
It doesn't matter.
yeah, I was gonna put it on the other one.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4.
Who was the second, Marion?
Aaron, yeah.
Go ahead, you can do the next one.
And then the second motion would be to grant site plan approval with condition.
Make that motion.
Second?
Wait a minute, let's quantify the conditions. So the conditions I have is the standard condition number 1, which is the approval of all of the boards, committees, commissions.
Removal of
I have beautifully well-maintained trailers, but you can put it however you want. Paint the trailers by X date to blend. You talked about gray or a putty or just some kind of, and you can call Shay and see if the end one can be a mural or whatever.
Certainly
But
will.
that's not a requirement, just, so when do you think you can have them just painted to blend?
We'll paint them, let's say, I mean, if it's tough, if it gets really cold on us before we actually get them in there, the paint won't stick. But if we actually get there the first couple of weeks of December with the mildness of the season, we should be okay. Problem is this, the metal-based paints doesn't stick.
Right.
So we may have to wait till the spring, but we can probably throw one on the side just facing the traffic, just so it looks appealing.
All right, so you're gonna paint them and maintain them in the site ASAP. Gone by, you want to go with the 31st of next year? Or do you want to go earlier and give an extension? What do you want to do?
December 31st, 2018.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, and if for some reason the whole plan goes off the track, if we don't hear from you in June of 2018, then the plan will be that they'll be gone by the first of the year. But if, I'm just trying to be a good planner, if something's gone wrong, don't wait till December to tell us, just let us know.
Don't come in a couple days before Christmas and say, hey, they're not gonna be gone by
Well,
then.
I think that in the worst possible cases, when we close down in the season, the second year, we can move everything inside regardless of whether we have the building up.
Mhm.
And then we'll come back to you and say, can we use them for
Right.
our season, and then get rid of them. And then we'll go back to Eagle and just lease them for the 6 months we're in season, and they come and pick them up and take them at the end. It's this year when we're moving in and moving out, we're trying to organize it properly.
Sounds like you get a great plan, I want it to go forward, but at the same time, I don't want, and I hope you get the sense that if it's not gonna be able to happen by the 31st of December, for whatever reason, just let us know in June,
Of course.
and I'll be more inclined
Yep.
to listen to you and believe you and say, then let's go out 6 months or whatever you need. But also, because this has a ripple effect, every time someone comes in, we do it for one, we do it for everyone. So this gives us something to a hook to hang our hat on.
We try not to do it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can say, yeah, they had a year.
Understood.
All right, so the next condition would be to comply with the fire department requirements per their 10-417 comment sheet, and then that the signage be submitted for approval prior to fabrication. So 5 conditions.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
All right, 14 days to get
20
on
minutes,
file.
Mr.
It'll be
Chairman.
on file within the next 2. And
Did we
the
sign
special
up?
permit has a 20-day
Yes, sir.
appeals period.
I have no idea.
And then it gets recorded at the registry. The site plan doesn't have to get cleared, you'll just get a nice original copy with a color seal, that's the original. And you'll get that all at once in a nice little envelope.
Either way, well before closing.
So,
Perfect. Thank you for the
Welcome
time,
aboard.
really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
we have a motion to close that public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Let's have a brief marijuana conversation.
Read it.
Here's my plan. Okay, so we have no regulations on recreational marijuana right now, and it was extremely clear and painful for the last town meeting that the majority of people sitting there had no idea about anything to do with pot. Why would you unless you study it every day, I guess. So, very
And they
important.
still don't know.
Right, they still don't know. Very important that we get information out there, actual, real information, correct information, and that, if you so choose, we have an opportunity for people to express an opinion and have a discussion. So what I'd like to do is to send out a notice with the census, which goes out in December, so it'll hit every single household in the town of Sutton, saying, we're basically having informational/listening sessions relative to recreational marijuana within the town of Sutton. I'd like to do one in February, I'd like to do one right at the beginning of March, because we roll into our articles are due mid-March, and we'll roll right into public hearings in the beginning of April. So no later than the first or second week of March for the second session. I'd like to just do 2 at night, 7 o'clock, when most people are out of work, or, can park their kids and come up for an hour. If that's okay with you, I'm gonna go ahead and schedule that. And then we can we'll do information, explain that there are really 3 different kinds of marijuana: your personal use marijuana, your medical marijuana, your recreational marijuana, what the statutes are on each, where the law stands on each, and what we have control over and what we've already done within the town of Sutton in terms of medical. And we can have that whole informational piece, and then people can have their say or ask their questions, and then you'll have that information to take into, a draft article. I'm thinking a draft article is probably going to be some kind of regulation on recreational marijuana, which frankly, we already have regulation on medical marijuana, so my gut says we're just changing the wording to all marijuana in the town of Sutton is regulated the same way. Something for you to think about between now and then is if you want to go beyond South Sutton Commerce Park, if you want to go to Aggregate, if you want to go anywhere else in town. And then, do you think all forms of recreational marijuana are appropriate within the town? And we talked about 4 forms, okay, at town meeting. And we'll talk about those 4 forms in the informational session. So we cultivate, we test, we produce. So recreational and medical, as you know, can take many, many forms, from elixirs to concentrates to gummy bears to boobies, so, and then we retail. So there's your 4 forms. So, and you can pick and choose what you want to allow and what you don't want to allow. So, I mean, that's going to be the bulk of the discussion. That's the whole discussion. It's just can be really detailed. And there'll be stuff happening between now and at the state level between now and then. But I just think we really need to kind of get out ahead of it and get out there and make sure anybody who wants to be informed has an opportunity to be informed.
I'd also like to do some research and study around the actual, real benefits of the taxes, because I'm
And
not
I have
convinced
already-
that that's really
Yeah, I've already got some numbers.
as lucrative as people make it out to be. And
Yeah.
even the amount quoted at the town meeting to me was $100,000 in a budget of what we have is minuscule. So
Yeah, well, and I
I'm not
think it
buying
helps to know too, because I've actually started the research already before town meeting on actual revenues that are being generated right now on medical cultivation facilities, medical distribution facilities. And the thing about medical marijuana, which is different than recreational marijuana, and I touched on it just briefly, is that for medical marijuana, for both, you have to negotiate what's called the host community agreement. Under medical marijuana, there were no caps. So you could negotiate the sky.
Right.
And there are communities that have very high percentages and blah, blah, blah. And so it's very wide. In terms of recreational marijuana, at least for retailers, there's caps now under the law. So that just scales up and down depending on how much volume you're doing in retail. I am not clear and have not had time to ask council how that cap applies, if at all, to cultivation, testing, and production. I have a feeling right now that's still very flexible and open to a host community agreement where you can still play with those numbers a little bit. But the way the legislation went was that what you ask for as a community in your host agreement, for retail anyways, is supposed to be in effect an impact fee. You're not supposed to be asking for anything more than you think it's going to cost your community to deal with these uses. So they're not going to be like they were for medical. Those numbers are all going to come down for recreational, even if retail and cultivation. So medical is actually kind of a bigger boon than recreational, though people keep anticipating there'll be a larger volume in recreational, which is kind of interesting because you can grow your own. Why would you? But I don't know. So it's an interesting
in the
subject,
host
but we'll
agreement-
do the research.
The host agreement can be for a number of years.
On recreational, you can go 5 years at a time.
Right.
With medical, it can be indefinitely.
Right.
With recreational, 5 years at a time, and you have the option to renew in year 5. So you can keep rolling it over, but like I said, retail's capped at 3%.
Right.
I
I thought you did a good job of making that clear, that
Yeah, it's
that's
capped.
misunderstood, the sales tax is
Yeah.
not where the opportunity is. The opportunity is with the host agreement.
Absolutely.
And-
And the
and-
host agreement, like I said, even that for recreational has been pulled way back by that
They know
August
what they're doing.
legislation. Pulled back to impact fee, where you've heard me use it before. There's got to be a rational nexus between what you're asking for in your host agreement, that impact fee, and what it's going to cost your community to have a cultivator, a testing facility, or production guys in your community, which probably isn't a lot. But, you know, you have to be able to make that agreement, that argument. But there's a lot of sessions between now and then, you know, there's one session at the session I'm going to on Thursday, Friday, and everything's just evolving as you go, so.
Did you have a comment, Nick?
Yes. I was a little surprised that sitting in here last month, I guess it was, and the mention of all this money coming into town and then going to a town meeting and hearing the same thing. In the 50, 60 years that I've been involved with the town, I've heard that story a number of times. All the money that we're gonna make. In fact, I've got a sheet downstairs on my bulletin board of all this money that's coming into the town. It just doesn't work that way. Some of it may come, but it isn't there. But you have to really be aware that you get Papa John's Pizza coming down and build a big building, getting a ton of tax dollars in it, and then it's sold to a church and it's gone. Meanwhile, that $50,000, $100,000 that you got in tax money, you've hired another teacher or two, and now you don't have any income, and you're on the hook for that amount of money. So be very cautious of saying we're gonna make a lot of money and it's gonna be great for the town.
I agree with you.
All we'll have is facts.
So,
This community did this agreement and they've made this much money. This community did this agreement, they've made this much money. And can you do that now? Can you not do that now? And with recreational, the pot gets smaller and smaller with the legislation.
And you have to consider
Medical is
that,
much more flexible.
you have to consider that more and more of these facilities may be spread around the state. And
Yeah, there's 100.
the amount of money
Right now.
coming into that facility in Sutton may be reduced, and they may go out of business.
so Jen, my suggestion is when you set dates for these sessions, please notify Chief Toll, whether it be him or one of the officers that comes. It'd be interesting to get some info from their department. The other question that I actually got asked by a citizen of town is, they were at the town meeting, we're voting yes if we don't want something, and we're voting no if we do want something.
The way
Her question was, who comes up with the wording of the articles?
the Attorney General and Town Council. It is
So,
what it is, yeah. You have to vote it the way the Attorney General structures it. But I guarantee you, there's been feedback from more than the town of Sutton on the way those questions have to be formulated, so.
I also got some questions around, so if the town voted in the spring to ban it, and then we overturned it in the town meeting, so I had some questions around that, like how can we overturn it, because
Well, because the law changed, and that was step one. There was a ballot vote to prohibit all forms of recreational marijuana within the town's limit. That was step one. It had to be followed by step 2 and 3, which was a zoning bylaw change and a general bylaw change. That's what was on the warrant. So, under the prior law, you had to complete all 3 steps for it to be effective. If you lose any of those steps, too bad, no prohibition. The law in August changed, making the ballot vote not necessary at all, not required. And now it's just the bylaws. So the vote was taken, but it's legally moot, gone. So just those 2 bylaws that you were voting on, which were supposed to be steps 2 and 3, are now steps 1 and 2. So you have to pass both of those. And town council, the law says you have to pass a bylaw. So technically, you could argue, I only have to do a zoning bylaw, or I only have to do a general bylaw. Town council, being extremely cautious and being attorney, says no, do both. Because otherwise, somebody's going to end run you and say, you only did zoning, you needed a general, you only did general, you need a zoning. So.
And to Nick's point, to do this whole thing a year from now, the train already left. If there was an opportunity, it's shrinking. So it's, you make a good point. a year prior to this would have been the time when no one knew how much the host agreements could be. It's a business, and you're right,
The best opportunity now, really, is those people who already have medical.
Right.
The communities that already have, and there's only 12 of them open and operating, distribution sites for medical. There's more cultivators than that, and testing and production facilities. There's only 12 actual dispensing locations open, but there's 100 more in queue, in the
And
process,
that's
2
gonna
steps
change
away
things.
from permitted, 100 more. And granted, some of those hundreds are the same business, just with multiple locations, because medical marijuana under the law, you have to be vertically integrated. You can't dispense marijuana to somebody and that something happens to them, bad happens to them, and you say, oh, he grew it. That's not, you have to grow it, test it, do everything within your chain. Your cultivation can sell to, you can have several distribution locations, but if you're selling it, you have to be the one that grew it. So, and that changes a little bit under the recreational marijuana law too. It's interesting. And we come out from under the Department of Public Health, who oversaw all that testing and everything for medical marijuana. Everything shifts. DPH is out of it once recreational comes on board, and everything goes to the Cannabis Control Commission. So there's the new
Which has just been
agency,
created.
and they will be controlling not just recreational, but all the medical shifts over to them too. So it's a little tiny bit scary, because you have the Department of Public Health, who's very well versed. Though I'll have to say, the CCC, how it's been structured so far, and some of the people that are on it definitely bring some of that knowledge over, which is nice. So it's interesting.
That's why we have a moratorium for now, till
It's
it
interesting.
clears some
And
of it
it'll
up.
be, the state, people can apply for recreational April 1st at the state level. They can make application. So you want to be well on your way to regulation, if not regulation in place by April 1st, so we'll be well on our way. But the people that can apply April 1st are already existing. So the people who are already out there producing get the first bump. And they won't see those other people after that until July is the people that don't already have licensing and stuff like that, so.
And John, to your point, anyone that's asked me that was confused, I give credit to the moderator. I thought did a great job of making crystal clear in simple terms what the yes vote meant and what the no vote meant. If it was a classroom, I might have yelled at everyone and said, shut up, pay attention, because this is what the yes means and this is what the no means. And he couldn't have done a better job with what he had to work with. And anyone and maybe there were people who voted by mistake, but you must have been listening to what he was saying, because he did a great job. I thought the whole meeting with the crowd.
Form of the article.
Yeah, no, he didn't have much to work with there, but I thought he was pretty clear about what the yes and the no meant.
I would hope that with the facilities that the town currently has, that if we anticipate a town meeting to be that big, which I was not surprised how big it was, that they move it to the gym, like they did several years back, so that everybody is in the same venue. My daughter was out in the other part. They don't have a chance to speak. They can watch it on a TV and that's it. They could have done that at home. So.
All right.
I do think they were invited to go in to speak. I
Yeah.
heard him invite them a couple of times, but if you wanted to speak, you'd have to go in for them.
By the time they got there, it was gone.
All right, people. So we'll do those info sessions then.
Good,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, with nothing else on my list, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion adjourned. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.